We call on the international community, human rights organisations, and as citizens of the United Kingdom, the British government do the following. The genocide of the Hazaras must be recognised by the British government and the United Nations member states.
1 year ago on Tuesday, a terrorist attack killed more than 19 girls and injured hundreds of other Hazara girls. And today we are here to commemorate these Hazara girls and to ask to stop the Hazara genocide.
The recent attacks against the Hazara people, and we want the UK government to recognise it as a genocide.
To raise awareness about the killings that have been recently going on in Afghanistan that have been targeted, especially towards Hazara people. And we want this to be recognised as a genocide. In terms of the attacks against Hazaras and recognise the continuing oppression of the Hazara people, this continuing genocide has to be recognised by the international.
This is an unidentified tombstone of a child who was killed in a bomb attack at the Saeed Shahadas High School in western Kabul, along with 85 other teenagers studying there. Written on a tombstone was, "There is no air left." This signals that the girl's siblings have been killed too, or that this is the surviving victim of a family that was killed in a previous attack. And these pieces of equipment belong to dozens of children and teenagers who were killed today along with that anonymous girl. The parents trying to find sign of their children. These images show the height of ethnic hostility towards civilians, which took place in the Afghan capital before the complete withdrawal of the United States and NATO. Who is to blame? It does not matter now whether the government or the Taliban are behind this attack. It is certain that these victims will never come to live again, but the government has the responsibility of protecting the civilians. Are the people of Afghanistan falling victim to a horrible big game led by the Taliban and the Afghan government? There are more than 1 million people living in western Kabul, most of them Hazaras. The Hazaras makes up more than 20% of Afghanistan's population, although this figure is currently kept secret by the official government, and the Afghan government has refused to clarify the census of Afghanistan for 40 years. Afghanistan is made up of different ethnic groups, but unfortunately, politics in this country are dominated by a single ethnicity. This leads to the disappearance of other ethnic groups. Afghanistan's situation reminds us of going to another fully engage in an ethnic and civil war, just before the withdrawal of NATO and US troops.
Yesterday my sister and I went to the market to buy Eid and school clothes. But today she is no more. She was a very kind sister, but I don't have her anymore.
Just in Kabul, more than 85 people were killed and 150 injured, all of them teenage female students. All of them were of Hazara ethnicity. The Afghan president blamed the Taliban for the attack, but they pointed the finger at the Kabul government. But in reality, both of them are responsible because they both benefit from such incidents. People of Afghanistan's opinion believes that the address of this kind of terror and attack is the government hiding team with confirmation of President Ashraf Ghani.
Government and security authorities for several years now, targeted plots against a certain stratum have been carried out for the purpose of genocide, but there has not been any decisive reaction and it has always been ignored. And I have no doubt that a hidden circle within the government supports these plans.
The people consider the government to have done the greatest service to the Taliban and terrorist groups.
What does this government want from the residents in western Kabul? You killed our elites. You took our children. You took our brothers and fathers.
The government has fabricated ISIS to threaten other ethnic groups in Afghanistan and sometimes uses this group as a cover for such catastrophes. The government and the Taliban have effectively divided Afghanistan among Pashtuns under the slogan of democracy, war, and peace. The slogan of democracy and peace comes from the Afghan government, and the slogan of war from the Taliban. They are from the same ethnic lineage and have strived for ethnic domination. While their goal is the same, their slogan is different. The goal is to remove other ethnicities from power and reduce their resistance in the future. These are the key persons from the current government, and they all belong to one ethnic group. These three people are known in the virtual world of Afghanistan, as they are the ones who make fundamental but biased decisions. Their most relevant actions include ousting other ethnic groups from key government positions, and using female government officials to cover up major corruption. During these years, Hamid Karzai and Ashraf Ghani played their own roles regarding the foreign forces, the United Nations, and the United States. For 20 years, pretending to be at war and destabilizing southern Afghanistan, they divided the resources and money of the government agencies between the Taliban and their families. Hamid Karzai always calls the Taliban brothers.
Despite criticizing me for calling the Taliban my brothers, I still consider the Taliban my dissatisfied brothers.
Ashraf Ghani made it clear at the beginning of the presidential campaign that he wanted to ensure justice in prisons and for the victims.
98% of Bagram prisoners belong to one ethnicity and language. That's not fair, and I want the night raids in the south and the prisoners of Bagram to be even and belong to all ethnic groups. I can proudly tell you that I released Pashtun prisoners from the government prisons. No Pashtuns are to be in prisons.
Most of the Taliban prisoners released have returned to battle. These two presidents, as the heads of the Afghan government, redirected the war from the south of Afghanistan to the north via a targeted plan by relocating citizens in the north of Afghanistan. Previously, the government hiding body, who had carried out many undercover assassinations, threatened the leader of the Uzbek General Dostum in northern Afghanistan.
Instead of the air support I had asked for in the north, the Security and Presidential Council had planned to kill me and ambush my people in my path. They had planted mines everywhere and had destroyed the roads. They had moved gunmen to the trenches. When I told the Security Council that northern Afghanistan was insecure, the head of security said okay, but it really didn't work until the Taliban moved north and took over.
Most of the leaders of the Tajiks, another ethnic group living in Afghanistan, were assassinated in these dangerous games.
A suicide bomber attacked me as I was coming to my office in my caravan.
Most importantly, Afghan tribal leaders were recruited again by the presidential palace after receiving death threats by the government. The Sikhs of Afghanistan have also been targeted to be removed from Afghanistan.
Officials and dignitaries told me that because you are not a Muslim, you are not allowed to speak in the name of God for justice and equality.
The blast, like several other blasts in the past, is a death threat to other Afghanistan's minorities. Now we can better understand the bloody assassinations and the events in Kabul. This game of threatening tribal leaders has now reached the lives of citizens. They use threats and killings of ordinary people to silence the voices of other tribes. The UN and US government have the responsibility to recognize this kind of targeted attack as genocide and hold both the government and the Taliban to account regarding the situation for minorities in Afghanistan.
The massacre and the genocide of Hazaras, which has deep roots in Afghanistan's history, has intensified in recent years. This intensity has multiplied with the Taliban's takeover of Kabul and the relocation of international institutions and the representatives of the influential countries from Afghanistan. In less than 2 weeks, more than 500 men, women and children have fallen victims of domestic and international terrorism. Regretfully, during these successive massacres in recent years, not a single case of the perpetrators of these crimes have been identified and persecuted. The ruling regime in Afghanistan has not taken the slightest practical step in delivering justice to the victims and martyrs, either during the Taliban era or before. Recently, many international bodies such as the Independent Human Rights Commission, Human Rights Watch and National International Lawyers have cited the killings of Afghanistan in schools, colleges, hospitals, mosques, stadiums and streets are as clear examples of genocide. But with profound regret, so far an independent international body hasn't been set up to prosecute the perpetrators of the genocide of Hazaras in Afghanistan. There is no doubt that blood is flowing from every corner of Afghanistan. Shia and Sunni mosques have been repeatedly razed to the ground by domestic terrorists who are controlled and dictated by outsiders. The fortifications of all mosques and the hearts of the people of all religions are bloody, but the main concern is that no national or international institution are being held responsible for the crimes of those criminals. The current rulers of Afghanistan are these old criminals currently praising the suicide bombers in Kabul, those who killed the Muslim people of Afghanistan. How can you expect justice from the oppressive executioners, the Taliban, whose hands are stained with the blood of the Afghan people? Our target audience now is the international community, human rights organizations, and influential countries in international stages and in Afghanistan to break their deadly silence and take action